Got my people in place, Marilyn. I've got the right people, they're ready to go, but I need to know more about the building material certification for my project as well. So what kind of things should I look for in that regard?
Well, with your lumber, if you get Forest Stewardship Certified, FSC lumber, it's kind of like food. It means that it was grown in a well-managed forest, and there's literally a barcode on every piece of wood that tracks via computer where that tree was grown, like what truck, trucked it off the land where it was grown and felled.
Wow.
That went to what mill to cut it, and then what was the next truck that it got on until it went to the store, to the distributor that you bought the wood from.
Wow.
So that they have to do that, otherwise somebody could stick another pile of wood on the truck and say it was Forest Stewardship Certified.
Okay.
Right, so that means they don't do clear cutting, and they maintain habitat in the forest, and don't make erosion problems, and don't spray chemicals and stuff like that.
Great. But tell me more, once the building's done, what kind of certification is there for the building itself?
So there's residences and there's non-residential buildings. So the certification for buildings is specific to what kind of building it is.
Okay.
So the U.S. Green Building Council, which was started by private industry, about 12 years ago, boards of directors of all these different construction companies and material producers and design consultants all collaborated to come up with this green certification, like food. What makes a building green? And so they refer to matrices, and they've got all these little categories of indoor air quality and energy efficiency and water use. We'll go over that more later. But anyway, LEED has new non-residential buildings. They have one for remodeled buildings, because restaurants open and close, stores come and go, and when the new tenant comes in the commercial building world, it's called tenant improvements. How do they gut the space and do all their new custom improvements for their business and do it green? So their starting point isn't a new building. It's in this shell building. So there's one LEED certification for the tenant improvements, and then there's another separate certification for the developer who had the raw land, who built the raw new shell building, but he left it raw studs. He didn't even wire it, right? Okay, so he could get a LEED certification for building his shell. Right? And then when the tenant rents it, they can get a LEED certification for finishing it.
I see.
Right? So there's, old building remodel tenant improvements, and then there's new shell building tenant improvements. So if you want to do a new raw food restaurant, you might go rent an old building and customize it as your residence. Or you might go rent this new shell building that's never been finished before, right? So either way, it's just so that the real stuff that happens in the construction world, like each typical scenario, can get LEED certified. So in the meantime, they finally got around to LEED Home.
They do residential now as well.
Well, there's no they. There is a certification for a LEED Home now. Yeah. Then there are NARI, which is National Association of Remodelers, and NAB, National Association of Home Builders. They each have a certification And those are generally energy driven, just like the Energy Star home.
Ah, I'm familiar. I've got some Energy Star products, some appliances and things like that. Okay.
Right. And then Alameda County in California hired David Johnston, who originally wrote the Boulder, Colorado Green Building Program like 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And Alameda started this whole, for residential green buildings, it's kind of parallel to the LEED venue, but really they're separate industries. They have separate codes, they have separate products, and they have separate licensed general contractors who build them.
Okay.
And so because it's sort of a parallel but different industry, like you have to have a different green building certification for residences than, you know, a hospital. They're just different.
Right.
Okay. So that certification has a little matrix,
Okay.
and it has its same little like well-rounded thing where you've got your energy component, you've got your water conservation component, you've got your non-toxic materials component, you've got your site drainage, water, landscaping component. Anyway, it's called ACMA.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to be regional, like the state of Washington has some green associations, and that's kind of adopted by their local governments, and it's parallel because it's kind of like the 100 monkey syndrome. Like all of us know being green is good, so all these different regions with their local governments and their volunteered local people in the trades have been putting together similar green building programs.
That's good. It's
But
almost
the beauty of the ACMA one that David Johnston was the author of is that all the jurisdictions in California are adopting it as a template.
Ah,
But there's lots of other states in the country besides the U.S., or besides California, so you're going to be seeing different iterations of it popping up.
excellent. Excellent.